Right, so let's get to it. So we now have like a front end that's web based, and what we're doing here is that we're trying to generate a fun music tool similar to Caustic. So and now we have a front end that you can access the buttons with the mouse, and you have either vertical or horizontal, and they are different in their resolutions. And then we have the buttons. So for you, I mean, this started out as SavingCaustic, and this is like the similar settings to the subsynth in Caustic. And just to recap how this is all works now, we have a controller that kind of is the source for the rendering, and also what the parameters should be named, and their minimal and maximum ranges. And part of that logic isn't really written yet, because as you may know, in the communication between the MIDI controller and the software, you have like a range of 0 to 127 in these knobs here, and then the actual synth may have a range of like between 0 and 5000, and that conversion is done by a common controller, and that controller isn't really written yet. So here we just mock that the controller kicks back the value that we want to send. So this is working. What's not working actually is if the button is wider, then you get a strange offset. And what's happening here is that we can use look at the tech stack here. So I made quite a big update on the repro. So that's SavingCaustic Echo. So Echo is what I call this thing that I mock in PHP. So if you go here, so I've made quite an update, so you can see new images here. So this is the tech stack that I'm thinking of currently. So of course we should use C++ in the as a backbone, and then you know the framework Juice is the obvious choice, but it's a bit cathedral-ish. So I just want to hang on to any options to choose before really choosing that. And I stumbled upon Port Audio, and I think it works really great. There's no port on Port Audio to Android, but I think it's probably just a matter of time. And if they won't port it, then you have the oboe framework in an Android. And then you have the Artemidi, that is like platform independent, and these are all BSD licensed, so it's super free. And then we need a WebSocket server, and then some JSON parsers. So, and then the actual code that we need to write here. And on the front end side, I'm using the Vue JavaScript library that is super small. And then for building stuff, which I will come back to, I use PHP. So that's really just for building the graphics and stuff. And if we move on, how this is all put together, you have like an interrupt service where the audio buffers, require more information to render output. And this is interrupt driven, and being interrupt driven, you want not to have either I/O things going on like file reading and writing. So that is quite. I think that's a good discipline to have that. So you have outside the interrupt routine, you have like buffering for the audio input and output. Like pre-buffering. So for example, if you do audio recording, you need to have like some kind of buffer where the interrupt service can push the bytes coming in from the hardware, but then outside the interrupt routine, these buffers are actually written to the disk or to the SD card or whatever. So that should not be inside interrupt routine. So here you have it, and with the different libraries that we were talking about, and each rack consists of these things, where you have like a MIDI cue from a MIDI keyboard or the screen or the pattern, and the blue arrows here are the clock signal, and there's a difference between the clock and the tick. So the clock is a MIDI clock, which is normally 24 pulses per quarter, and then you have the tick, and that is 96 pulses per quarter. So it's really the tick here. It's all the blue notes are the tick, and then you have the green, which is MIDI, and you have the red, which is audio. And then you have this, and you can just see for yourself. Alright, so let's go on. So actually the main thread that's outside the interrupt is like managing these buffers, and then process any incoming data from the front end and update the front end view. So I guess when you overload the system, the interrupt routine will struggle, and in the end causing clicks, and these are low priority, so you will notice that the front end will stutter. Yeah. And here you have like the overview of you have the front end, and currently I'm thinking about making it all web-based, just to make it simple and not requiring any libraries for different platforms. So and communicating with the backend through a web server and a WebSocket server. So the web server serving assets like images and HTML, and the WebSocket server interacting by setting parameters and stuff like that. And then we need a couple of APIs for different parts, and these aren't written really. So and I've been looking into that a bit, because where I am currently is that I've created a folder that really shouldn't be inside here, but it's now for now. So I created this project simulating the Money by Pink Floyd. So we have a song name and a tempo and a time signature and a master tune, and we should load some synths, and based on this file and some pointers to patterns and a pointer to the sequence, or maybe it's quite obvious, it should be able to play like in the end like a song. And based on these files and how they are organized, we need APIs to update those, read and update that data in those files. And what's more, I mean, you can just start a web server in this directory. So there's been some changes. So this directory is now called FA Builder. So if we just start a web server here, this is what you get. And as you can imagine, this is not text. This is an image. So if I look at that image, can I copy the build, the image? Hang on. Yeah, there you see it. So it's a super long image, wide, and we're just showing a part of it by clicking. And this is generated by as I said, this is generated by the build system, this PHP. So we have the controller XML that defines everything. So if I was to say DAW in the oscillator 2, then there will be Oh, bummer. Yeah, there it is, DAW. Actually, obviously off. Problem is that when I click this, it doesn't work. So if anyone can look into that, it would be great, because you are updating the style on this image through using the view framework. And if we look at how it works, because I tried to have the view looking at the DOM and see how wide the image was. If you have, like, let's see, up button here, so we have like a parameter called data width. So I tried having view look at that parameter to understand how much the offset should be, but it didn't work. So because the DOM wasn't loaded. So now here's another approach where I have in the view data set, I have these. So here's the similar. So if anyone can look into that, so that these should be aligned just as these are, based on that value in the view object. Right. So what you can do more with is that you can I have abandoned this earlier thing that we have in the to generate audio. This one. Select subreal and render, because I think we can do much better than that. Hang on. I should fix this. I will fix that. So you can play with that to render the output, but as I said, I'm abandoning this to have this instead rendering output, so you can, you know, play with the dials, and not all the dials are working, but generate audio output from this view instead. And what more? You know, I have some questions to you, because because as I see it, I look at this, and I mean, Juice is the obvious choice, but it would be really nice to hear your opinions on it, because I think that there are two problems with Juice, and that is, or actually quite some. I mean, it's a big framework as I see it, and you learn it, and maybe you can make, you know, it could be very useful to learn. But at the same time, any changes that happens to the Juice framework, it kind of interferes with the development of this tool. So that's a problem, and I also think that it's kind of nice to work with software that is totally free. And it would be awesome to just have this app being offered for free, totally free. Just, you know, compete with GarageBand. So no license fees. But of course, you know, that depends on how things are evolving. So yeah, I don't have much more to say currently. Should have, though. Hang on. Yeah. Hang on. We have a lot of tests in the test folder. So if you run the tests again, you have a bunch of new. So you have some me just validating the swing and stuff, and also the time signatures. So we should have like plays 7/8 should be right. So there are some things to play with. So that's that, and yeah, keep watching and keep spreading the word. It would be awesome if we could reach the threshold of actually generating some money here on YouTube, so we can use that to buy licenses if that's needed. Okay, see you everybody, and take care.